Hi, and welcome to this new case study. I'm Subhashni, and I thank you for subscribing and viewing the videos on HR analytics, people management, and talent management that I put up in this channel. You already know employee performance is what makes the organization perform. Now, the case study today is of a CEO of a company who is very keen to understand what differentiates a top performing employee from the ones who do not perform. From the organization covered in the following example, the CEO wants to understand if the employee satisfaction scores and the employee engagement scores are good indicators of employee performance. This is a fairly common request that we get from customers because the organization spends a lot into employee satisfaction and employee engagement, and the whole thing is this actually proving to be a driver of performance? Now, when we look at defining the business problem, the people management team is keen to understand which attributes of an employee drive performance in the organization. And the CEO is convinced that employee engagement is linked to performance. The task at hand is to do a hypothesis testing to decide if this hypothesis of the CEO is correct or not. Now, let's look at the data. The data you can see is pretty large, right? If we look at it, there are some 36 fields starting from employee name, marital status, gender ID, salary, position, type of citizenship, race, date of hiring. If there's a termination, there is a termination reason, employment status, performance score, engagement survey score, employee satisfaction score. Then some special projects that the employee has done, last performance review date, and the days the employee was late in the last 30 days, and absences. Okay, so there is enough and more data, a lot of data around the employee that we have out here. The process of going through solving for this case study will remain the same. So we are looking at define, collect, organize, visualize, analyze, and insight generation. So define we've done. Let's look at collecting the data and organizing the data. There are three attributes of interest, right? So when we went to the data sheet, we found that though there are 36 columns of data, there is three which is of extreme interest to us: performance, engagement score, and employee satisfaction. So as our whole emphasis is on these three columns of data, we will take this out and put it into the sheet data one. And then let's understand this data, this relevant set of data. So again, I will iterate that when you talk about collecting the data, invariably we think it is only about getting more data. However, collecting the data is also the process of getting relevant data for the problem that we have at hand, so that we can use the relevant data in our further analysis. Here you will notice there are three columns of relevant data, and that has been brought out into the new data sheet called data one. As is my habit, I have created a summary sheet and I'm putting down all the data, all the steps I'm covering into this summary sheet, so that later on, if I have to go back and look back at what I've done, I have a clear roadmap in front of me. If anyone else also wants to see my project, there is a clear definition of what are the steps I have done. Since the employee engagement and the employee satisfaction score is already transparent, is already numeric, so no transformation needs to be done. So the engagement score and the employee satisfaction score is already numeric. We go back to data one, we can see this engagement survey score and employee satisfaction score is already numeric. So there is only this one score, which is the performance score, which needs to be looked at. Now, the first thing to do is to understand if there are any missing values, and we check it with the count A function. There are no missing values. When you look at outliers, there is no outliers also, because everything is in a predefined range. Dummy variables is not required and derived variables is not required. So what do we wish to do? We want to take data for each option of the field performance score and make a separate column. Okay, so that we can run a hypothesis test. So here we notice that here for the segments under performance score, we really don't need to create any dummy variable or derived variable. We are going to use the options only as filtering criteria. So how do I do it? I do it very simply. I select the data, put a filter, and then from this data, like I pick up exceeds performance, and then I go to data 2, and here this is exceeds performance engagement survey, and exceeds performance employee satisfaction. Then I choose fully meets, and then I take out the engagement survey scores for fully meets and the employee satisfaction score for fully meets. Need improvement or PIP, which is an improvement plan. So here I have the engagement survey score for PIP and improvement, needs improvement. And here I have the employee satisfaction score. So what I do is I structure the data as per the three segments that are present. Now, when I look at the data again, just by doing something very simple, I find out the average, minimum, and maximum values. And by putting in the formulas, I can see that there are these values which are coming up. And there is some variations, definitely, which can be seen. For example, here you can see that in the exceeds, the average is 4.5, the minimum is 3.6, and the maximum is 5. But where you have fully meets the expectations, the engagement survey score is at 4.3, which is not very different from 4.5. The minimum value is 2.9, which is substantially different from 3.6. Okay. And when you go to needs improvement, actually the average is 2.7, which is substantially lower than the engagement survey results for exceeds and fully meets, right? So, we get a sense of the data, we get a sense of the understanding that the data is showing, and we can make some graphs and charts for our own understanding over here. So, these are the average values plotted, where we can see that needs improvement, and the people who are put into the improvement plan definitely have lower values in engagement survey also and employee satisfaction also.